Hey, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven, accompanied by Queen Taylor.
Who was laughing because what you didn't see for a solid minute was just him getting that arm ready to go.
Just getting it ready.
It was up for a long time. It was just anticipation, just waiting.
Guys, today we're going to be looking at King Richard III, the car park king. And this is going to be a long one. So hopefully...
The king in the car park.
The king in the car park. See, I always effed it up. I effed it up even though I looked at it.
What a dumbhead I am.
Even though I rehearsed it, I still effed it up.
I mean, it's basically the same thing, but
yeah,
if you want to be pedantic.
If you want to be pedantic. Guys, check out Taylor's shirt. It's a nice Killermcknight, our new logo. You guys like it? It's only available in the shop, and it's sick. Isn't that sick? It's sick. And I thought it would be really nice since we're doing kings. We have a coat of arms.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even plan it.
I didn't even plan it.
Just folded it from the laundry.
So great promotional. Guys, get yourselves some lifesavers, some oral fixation for this one. Buckle up, get your popcorn, get cozy, become a part of the cozy sub club, and let's hop on over to this hour-long documentary.
Also get your vases of water because we need to hydrate.
Vases of water. I love when people point out that we have vases.
I know.
I'm
everybody.
like, do you guys not have big cups?
Is it not important to you to have water?
For centuries, our kings and queens have been laid to rest in the finest tombs.
I'm not King Richard.
The body of one of them has been missing. Our most infamous monarch, Richard III. Last summer, a team of archaeologists and enthusiasts unearthed a skeleton in a car park.
No.
That might just be the missing king.
Of Richard III, one of the most reviled kings in British history.
In the months since, scientists have been trying to unlock that skeleton's secrets and reveal its identity. This is the exclusive inside story of that incredible journey.
Guys, I'm sorry, I can't.
And the discoveries along the way.
The shape of the vest.
So seriously, by the way, we had to download this video because there was no way for an American to get this.
Yeah, it was blocked in our country.
It was blocked in our country
Not
on
for
YouTube.
You Americans.
Couldn't get it off Amazon without buying it, and I didn't want to buy it because it was actually a lot of money. Probably well worth it, but still.
Yeah.
Here's my question right off the bat. So they found this skeleton. Could have been any skeleton. They thought it was King Richard III's skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't King Richard III be in like some kind of, I don't want to say tomb.
Clearly not.
But, you know, like a really fancy freaking casket or something?
No, not if they couldn't find him.
So did he die in the field of battle or something? Maybe.
I don't know. I'm guessing. I mean, if everybody else was in a tomb, I think that they would have, if they would have known where his body was, they would have done something with it other than just bury him in a car park.
Well, I'd hope that, like...
They also think that it's him, so, like, it seems as if
maybe
nobody knows where he was.
I would think even back in the day, like, if a king died, even on battle, they would recover the body and, like, dress it up and do something.
I don't know the history. I don't know what happened. Maybe his enemies took his body and put it somewhere so he couldn't be properly buried.
That's
Because that's like a, you know, pissing on someone's grave type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And reveal its identity. This is the exclusive inside story of that incredible journey.
Guys, I'm sorry, I can't.
And the discoveries along the way.
The shape of the vertebrae changes as it goes down the spine.
We'll learn how the man in the car park died.
It's a very, very dramatic injury.
And reveal his face for the first time.
It doesn't look like the face of a tyrant. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
All of it building to one result that might just rewrite history.
Wow, gender shocker in lab.
I don't see bones on that table. I see a man.
She is very into this.
Yeah, she's emotional. She invested emotionally.
I've got chills just from this music.
It's gonna be an awkward title if it's not him.
So this morning, son, they're in there. But if you're in Leicestershire and Rutland this morning, we have perhaps the most exciting story for a very, very long time. This is history being made in Leicester today as a search begins for the remains of a King of England.
Richard III could be buried underneath a car park in the city centre, and historians and archaeologists alike will be eagerly awaiting developments over the next fortnight.
It seemed utterly bonkers.
So again, the pausing thing. So archaeologists figure out this, and I'm sure they'll talk about it. I'm sure they'll get into it. But just in my mind, on a whim, would they unearth this car park on a whim? Like, how are they for sure certain that this is King Richard III? And
they've got to do all their like scientific tests and stuff like that. I don't think it's something where they were like, oh, King Richard might be buried under the car park. Let's dig it up.
Like,
It's probably something they dug up the car park, found a body, and then as they were going through the scientific stuff of trying to figure out who it is, because they can determine like a time period that this person is from, like how old the bones are, all that kind of stuff.
Depth, maybe
off of a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
So that's probably when they were like, they came from that time period. There's obviously something specific about this skeleton that made them be like, I think this is King Richard III.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining them like radaring and sonaring the ground, and then they'll like ping the body in there.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe if they had a reason to scan it. I don't know why they.
Yeah, who would come up with that? Maybe the
like they didn't know after all these years where he was, but all of a sudden somebody's like, bring out the scanner. I think he's here. That's
well,
weird.
there might be like something to suggest that this was a historical landmark and we didn't know about it, or the English didn't know about it, and they just put a car park there not knowing.
So they're looking just in case now.
Well, like Boudicca is in some backyard farm,
I don't know.
The Iceni tribe, right?
I mean, I hope that they'll
explain it, I'm sure.
Because one of the things you don't do in archaeology is you don't go looking for a specific thing, because the chances are you'll never find it.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up.
For the remains of a King of England.
Richard III could be buried underneath a car park in the city centre, and historians and archaeologists alike will be eagerly awaiting developments over the next fortnight.
It seemed utterly bonkers. One of the things you don't do in archaeology is you don't go looking for a specific thing, because the chances are you'll never find it. And you don't go looking for famous people.
The world's media are here at the moment. I tell you one thing, it is very, very exciting.
It's the first ever search for the grave of an anointed king, so to find him, it would be fantastic. Really fantastic.
LARPers.
We are pretty excited about it.
I'm not sure that they thought bunch of cranks, but I think that they thought that that it was a very long shot.
There are people who have these great dreams of finding things, because as an archaeologist, I just know how many sort of variables there are at play on any excavation. So chances of finding Richard was I don't know, 1,000,000 to 1.
Of all the kings and queens of England, one story has fascinated me since I was a kid. It's the legend of Richard III, the hunchback king with a withered arm, who murdered the princes in the Tower and died in battle, yelling for a horse.
Interesting.
Elizabeth I there, Henry VIII, her
Queenie.
father, and Britain's first ever recorded fat man. His father, Henry VII, who took the crown from...
Was that Henry IV? The fat one? I'm trying to remember from David Mitchell's thing.
I don't know.
Where this dude's a party animal.
Maybe.
First ever recorded fat man. His father, Henry VII, who took the crown from Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth, and here he is. Wow. The legendary Richard III. Definitely see a kind of a hunch. I've come to this comedian actor. So my introduction to Richard III was Laurence Olivier's depiction And he had this, like, I remember very vividly, it's like the kiddie catcher, he had this prosthetic nose and I think a protrusion of the chin and a sort of sets off clumping
Quasimodo.
across the set.
I can smile and murder whilst I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face to all occasions.
Interesting.
The idea of searching for the bones of a king who...
Flip. So I obviously don't know, as I stated in the David Mitchell video, really anything about history. I know very, very, very little about the kings and queens. I definitely did not know there was a king that had like a hunchback and what did he say, a withered arm or a feeble arm, something. I didn't know that there was any with any sort of
Normalities?
Yeah.
Abnormalities?
Abnormalities. Yeah.
And one that, killed his nieces and nephews or the kids?
Yeah. Killed the princes?
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me.
And frame my face to all occasions.
The idea of searching for the bones of a king who was evil personified seemed intriguing enough. But then, on the way to Leicester, I started reading about the people behind the dig, and it got even more curious. This project began not with archaeologists or historians, but as the passion project of one woman, Philippa Langley.
Going in search of his remains, it's kind of the Holy Grail. 3 years of basically non-stop cajoling, non-stop begging in some places.
From her home in Edinburgh, Philippa helps organise the Richard III Society, a group who believe Richard was a good king, horribly maligned by Shakespeare, and that this is a wrong that must be righted.
Yeah, but we need funding, that's the thing.
How does a person get into believing that? Because I'm assuming this isn't a king that was even alive in their lifetime, right? So for them to be like, all the stories are fake, he was good. How do you come to that conclusion? What makes you think that?
What makes people think that Atlantis is Doggerland?
What?
Yeah. That people out there think that Atlantis is all over in all these different places. And the people that really go down the rabbit hole of something like Atlantis, including Doggerland, that was one.
I don't know what you're talking about, and that does not answer my question.
I'm
either.
talking about is people get engrossed in history, and they like, and they get so excited and so spirited. She probably read a book, and it was interesting. Then she read another book, and then by the time she got to her 10th book of reading up about Richard III, her perspective changed because she has a million different opinions, but so she's starting to form her own opinion about this person being misjudged, mislabeled, and like kind of in a fascination. I could see it. She probably has a parasocial relationship with Richard III.
Yeah, I mean, it's seeming like it.
A group who believe Richard was a good king, horribly maligned by Shakespeare, and that this is a wrong that must be righted.
Yeah, but we need the funding, that's the thing.
Philippa joined forces with a historian who was investigating the legend that Richard's body was unceremoniously hurled in a river after his death in battle.
It became
hurled in a river after a battle. So I think of it like this. There's always going to be two different sides of a story, and there's always going to be, like, you can find the narrative to find something on like the internet that will be biased and swayed to your side, right?
Right.
So if she was reading up on all this stuff and developed like this kind of avatar or person that she envisions and then convinces others to see it, because it is kind of like, you know, maybe he wasn't evil for the time period that he was in, and he was actually, you know, it's subjective to what you think is evil.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, maybe there was a reason why he did those things. We just don't know, or we don't talk about it because in our perspective, it's terrible.
So she's like, he killed children, but he's really a nice guy.
But back then, killing children was probably like a thing, you know?
Yeah.
That they just did all the time. I don't know. It's terrible either way.
It became obvious to me when I looked into this story that it was one of the many myths about Richard III.
John was interested in an old theory suggesting Richard's grave in fact lay in the church of a medieval friary, somewhere under the car park of Leicester Social Services.
When we actually looked at the car park for the first time, when it was empty, lo and behold, in this very spot, there was a parking space with R marked on the tarmac.
I got the strangest sensation when I was in that area, in that place. Absolutely knew that I was standing on Richard's grave.
More convinced than ever, Philippa took the project to the archaeologists at Leicester University.
Initially, I thought, oh dear, it's somebody who thinks it's going to be really easy just to dig in the right spot and find exactly what they want. But then it became clear that actually there was some very good, solid research behind her idea of looking in the Grey Friars.
Together they set out to raise the money, and when £10,000 in funding fell through, Philippa turned to her fellow Ricardians for help.
Literally, within moments of sending out the first emails, they started coming back. And they started coming back from America, from Canada, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Belgium, from Brazil, Germany, Austria. In 2 weeks, not only did we raise £10,000, they'd raised more.
As the cash was gathered, the university did their own research. Tracking the location of the friary through time, it did appear to be under the car park. What they couldn't tell was where exactly the friary stood, or the church that might hold the grave.
It was put 2 trenches in and hopefully find a bit of the friary that we could recognise. If we could pinpoint where we were within the friary, then we could actually start looking for the church.
That's not the church right there.
Incredibly, the archaeologists' research set them digging right on the very spot where Philippa had her strange sensation.
I was gobsmacked because the first part of the first trench was running right over the letter R.
We were very on tenterhooks, you know, hoping to see signs of wall, hoping to see maybe some of the church floor tiles, some evidence of that sort. No, we didn't see walls, and no, we didn't see church floor tiles. We found leg bones.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, it's bone. I think it may be human bone. I went in and carefully uncovered just enough of it to see if it was actually connected to and I found the other leg, the right leg, to go with the left leg. So at that point I thought, yes, we've got a burial, but didn't really think much about it because I'd got no evidence at that point that we were inside a building, let alone the church. So,
you know what's wild about that though is if you dig, like how many people are just underneath the, like how many bones?
Yeah, right.
There's probably littered with just, you know, bones,
unmarked graves everywhere. Yeah, honestly.
The other leg, the right leg, to go with the left leg. So at that point I thought,
wild.
yes, we've got a burial, but didn't really think much about it because I'd got no evidence at that point that we were inside a building, let alone the church. So we just carefully covered it back up and left it.
So it has to be in a church.
The darkest cloud came over and there was this incredible tempest. It really was like some Shakespearean scene. This tempest arrives the minute we discover human remains. If it was Richard, he was ready to be found. He wanted to be found.
The joke doing the rounds in Leicester was that the only bones they'd find on this dig would be in a fried chicken box. In fact, 10 days in, the search for the grave of Richard III is going surprisingly well.
Realistically, I thought we'd be doing well just to find a few friary buildings, dig those, do a bit of sample excavation, close it up, and off we go. But it became clear pretty soon that there was going to be more to this project than we originally thought.
Oh, wow.
We were finding things every day. At lots of points, we were finding things every hour.
Wow.
The team have dug 3 trenches in all, So far, they've not only unearthed the friary, they've had a major breakthrough and found part of the church where they suspect Richard's grave might lie. It turns out the legs they found on the first day under Philippa's are actually lying inside it.
Oh my goodness.
This is where Matt found the bones. Whoa, and they're going in. There's some pretty serious work going on there. The plan here is they're going to dig out another section of that wall there so that we can get at the bones.
Find the rest of the body.
A bone expert, Joe Appleby, has come to investigate whether these legs are attached to a complete skeleton. And Philippa is transfixed.
I was just sort of watching Philippa. I thought this was going to be a long process. And she said to me, I think it's him. I think it's him. And I just thought she was insane because I thought this is ridiculous. It's the first thing we found. What's the chances of the trench being cut in the right place? I mean, it was bizarre.
And she's like, it's an R, it's him. Yeah, she's definitely sounding crazy.
Are you nervous about this?
Yeah, strangely, I am. Actually, I feel sick, which is a bit weird, isn't it?
Is he like a relative?
Sick, but I do.
You think they look alike?
It's a weird thing, digging up a dead body.
She's very
it is.
invested.
And I think the whole point of this journey, this project, was to try and honor this man.
She is so invested in Richard III.
That's why I'm like, is he a relative of hers? She is like
Oh, I thought you were talking about the dude talking to her.
eerily invested. No, her.
Yeah, she is like stone cold invested. She probably feels that way, and she's so hopeful, and she's like all these things because of the hours and hours, years of being a fan.
Yeah.
And just digging this up. Yeah.
It is, and I think the whole point of this journey, this project, was to try and honor this man.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
who
like,
talks like that?
I mean, it might not even be him, but
Who talks like that?
Right.
He's like, you're nuts.
No, it's quite an emotional thing, isn't it, really? That's only struck me just now, just coming and peering in. This was someone's relative.
Husband, father, brother, son.
Yeah.
And of course, it
Daughter,
might not be
wife,
Richard, but
mother.
whoever it is.
It was a person.
Yeah.
I think
I couldn't
saw
do that job.
What it meant
I would love to.
Philippa for the first time. She was, in tears, more or less. And I thought, even though this king's been dead for 500 years, this means the world to her.
500, so yeah, it's been a long time.
Philippa's emotion seemed surprising because the Richard depicted in Shakespeare was not a man you'd shed a tear for.
But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass. I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph.
Richard wasn't born to be king. It was his brother Edward IV who emerged from the Wars of the Roses with the crown. But, as Shakespeare tells it, Edward's early death led Richard to seize his chance, murder his nephews, the princes in the Tower, and take the throne for himself.
Oh.
That is the legend Philippa and her clan are doing battle with.
We have over 3,500 members worldwide.
That's crazy.
Wide. Frequently asked questions. Are you winning? There's a war being fought for the truth about Richard.
The Ricardians say evil Richard was a myth invented after his death by the Tudors to justify their flimsy claim to the throne. And by the time Shakespeare wrote his play 100 years later, this propaganda had taken hold.
Yeah.
That's it.
As I
There's nobody
read more-
around to
To really define, like, what if his nieces and nephews were actually dead in the tower and he didn't do it. You know, that would suck for Richard, right? Like, you know, it's still his family.
Yeah.
We don't know the truth of what happened.
We don't.
So, like, maybe the older brother was like, oh, our dad's dead. You know, come here, Billy. It's for us. And they did like a murder-suicide type deal.
Yeah, I don't imagine that's how it went. I mean, it's possible, but that's like your point you're making is like we would never know.
We would. I mean, their fate would have been to be king.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Shakespeare wrote his play 100 years later, this propaganda had taken hold. As I read more, I learned Richard was a good and just king. He didn't murder the princes in the tower, and he wasn't even a hunchback.
Richard may have had a slightly raised shoulder from training for combat, but this is conjecture. So we're not going to find
his portrait.
The sort of Shakespearean. Now is the winter. We're not going to find one of those guys.
I was starting to realize just how much was at stake on this dig. If the archaeologists find Richard and he isn't a hunchback, it would expose that Tudor myth for good. Then later that day, there's another breakthrough. The archaeologists digging near the bones under Philippus R find evidence they're in a part of the church called the choir, where the friars buried important people.
Wow.
Then Joe found something curious.
I hear we've discovered something to go with our...
But back to our initial question. Sorry about pausing so much during this.
This is so fascinating.
15 minutes. Why would they bury him there in the church and not take him to be buried in a tomb with all the other kings?
Maybe the church was the tomb with all the kings. This was probably like an amazing church.
It didn't seem like it from...
I mean, if you're burying kings there, it probably was. I mean...
No, I don't mean that the church wasn't amazing. I meant it didn't seem like the place where all the kings were buried in the tombs, just from what they were saying at the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably where... In the friar. I don't know.
But then he wouldn't be missing.
Yeah, I don't know.
He'd be buried with all the rest.
True.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Church called the choir, where the friars buried important people.
There you
Then
go.
Joe found something curious.
I hear we've discovered something to go with our legs.
Yeah, Joe's just found a skull in the grave. There's a bit of a problem though in that it seems to be a lot higher than where we had the legs when we found them. So we're going to have to clean down carefully and see if it is actually the skull
attached
for this burial.
I'm quite excited because that...
What I don't understand is they're finding, you know, I'm imagining a king being buried with gold, like in a gold sturdy ass box. I don't know how you're just finding open skeletons like this and not something enclosed or encased in like
That's
ivory.
what I'm saying. All the other kings were in these nice tombs. This guy is not. So that's what I'm saying. If they knew that this was King Richard III, why would they just bury him here in the dirt under this church instead of taking him back to wherever all these other kings are buried in these nice, extravagant tombs?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense.
Appears to be a hole in the...
If they knew it was him.
Skull.
Yeah, that's not an old hole. That's a hole that's been there for 10 minutes. The rest of the bones that we found so far are a good 6 inches below that. And I cleaned this bit back yesterday to a much lower level without finding any bones, but we then needed to go further into this side to try to pick up the whole burial. So I was just basically taking it down with this mattock here, and unfortunately that's gone into the top of the skull, so that's what's caused that hole.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So we're thinking that maybe a whole skeleton underneath, but these bones are on top.
Yes, we think it's quite likely that this skull is actually not associated with the skeleton underneath. The most likely thing is that it's going to be isolated and will then come down onto the burial.
So what's the plan now, Joe? Just keep going, bag this up?
We'll clean carefully around this and excavate it and take it out, and then we can carry on and work our way down to where the grave hopefully is underneath it.
Yeah, well, we shall leave you to it.
Thank you very much.
What a
the
fun
skull
job.
of any skeleton
right?
we find would help us identify if it was the king.
Tedious too, though, at times.
Yeah.
Medieval accounts of the Battle of Bosworth describe the last moments of Richard's life and the blow to his head that killed him.
Right in the middle of the battlefield site here. In this area in 1485 there was a marsh, and this was probably more or less where Richard died. On the ground, he was attacked, killed by a blow to the head. His clothing, his valuable armour are taken away. Richard's naked body is left lying on the field. Subsequently, Henry VII needs this body because it's how he's going to prove to everybody that Richard is dead. So he needs to have this body. He sends people over the battlefield to retrieve the body. They find it naked. We're told they put a rope round the neck. Probably this was to drag the body across the field, and they take it to Henry, who then has it put over the back of a horse and transported into Leicester.
Wow.
The dead king's body was put on display in the city. Some contemporary accounts did say he was then buried in the Greyfriars, but a legend took hold that his body was hurled into the river.
The story of the body in the river can only be dated back to 1612 and the mapmaker John Speed. He went to Leicester, looked for Richard III's gravesite, couldn't find it, said he could only find weeds and nettles, and he'd actually gone to the site of the Blackfriars Priory. And no wonder then that he couldn't find Richard's tomb, because he was looking in the wrong place.
The archaeologists were also convinced that Speed's map was wrong, which meant if Richard's body wasn't in the river, it was here, right in the area they were digging now.
Everyone was super excited because all we had to do then was dig into these graves, and we would inevitably find, you know, some skeleton or some remains, and one of them we hoped would be Richard.
It's so exciting.
Then we got this call from the skeleton we'd found on the first day, and Joe said, "I think you better come and have a look at this."
Oh my goodness.
And I stood and I looked into the grave. I thought, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, this moment.
You remember this morning we talked about the skull that we found, and we said that we didn't think that it could possibly be part of the same person as the legs that we'd found earlier, because the orientation
hunchback
was completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that's true. The orientation is completely wrong for a normal body. But I've just been excavating the spinal column, and if you take a look at it along here, you can see that there's a really abnormal curvature of it. So what we're actually seeing here is that this skeleton, in fact, has a hunched back.
Oh, no. That's awesome.
No.
So the Tudors were right.
Go on, have a seat.
If Philippa had found Richard, this wasn't the Richard she was looking for.
That's what I was wondering, is she saying no because she's like, oh my gosh, we found him? Or is she like, no, Richard doesn't have a hunchback?
I know. Well, it was a myth. She was trying to debunk a myth from the Shakespearean, tale of him, which was 100 years after.
Well, it wasn't a myth. She thought it was a myth.
She thought it was a myth that she was trying to debunk. Because it was like a smear campaign on Richard III that, because history is written by, the next king, right? Real accounts can be erased from history.
Yeah, 100%.
So she's trying to, debunk those I think she would call them slander, to defame them. But maybe they were right. Like, who would,
Well, exactly. Yeah. I'm curious to see her reaction now.
"13 days after breaking the tarmac in the car park, we were stood right on the spot of Philippa's R staring down at a skeleton with a hunchback spine.
That's crazy that
We
he
were
was
all
worse, she thought,
shell-shocked.
too.
Yeah.
The Hunchback King was supposed to be a Tudor myth.
Right, like he's saying, it's supposed to be a Tudor myth. What I like is the superstition with the R. Like that could be something so, you know.
It could be an R in literally the word park. Like
yeah, it could
on
be anything.
like painted on the car park.
But it's just so like, you know how sometimes those types of things happen and you're like, there's no way. Coincidence. Like the coincidence of all this.
Yeah.
But
it's too much.
It's just funny how that kind of stuff sometimes just plays out.
Yeah, and like you hear her saying that, and she's like, "He's under here." You're like, "You're nuts."
And then,
but like, she's just got this weird, crazy, intuitive connection. Apparently,
that's wild. She manifested into reality.
Yeah,
you know, like
he was actually buried like 500 yards away, and then he's like, his body just moved. He's like, she just really wants this.
Oh man. Did you see the spot where it's like it was almost like a road or something, like all the pavers that they dug up? I don't understand how like the current king or queen isn't like just unearth it all, you know? Like take your modern bull s out. Like if you found this, why wouldn't you just unearth everything?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Money, time.
But it's
equipment.
like it should be preserved, right? Like this is history.
It's just stacking up.
I would dig a hole and be like, this was, you know, I don't know.
Don't get me wrong here, right? But
Not
that
the red.
curvature is a major curvature. I mean, that's seriously something going on. So
that's
how do you
really...
get armor on that?
I wouldn't try, but you know.
Would that rule it out for you?
She's thinking it's not him.
You know, that goes with the stereotype, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't spotted a withered arm, so you know the arms are okay.
The arms are okay.
Yeah.
Oh, some good news then.
But of course, he could have been a hunchback, but still been the nice guy. Let's not forget that. It doesn't have to, you know, go along with all the other myths, does it?
No, it doesn't. He could have had some born with something, you know. It's just funny, we have descriptions of Richard by people who met him, and they don't mention it.
Yeah. Then Jo dropped her second bombshell.
But why would you?
There's a bit more. Earlier when you were questioning me about the skull, I was a bit evasive about it.
Yes.
There is actually a wound. It's not very visible on the surface of the skull, but inside the skull you can see that some of the bone has broken away and he's actually been hit in the head with something. And when you turn over the skull, there's also some damage to the skull base.
Whew.
And that was before death. Can you say that
I can't. I could say at or around the time of death. I can't be more specific than that, I'm afraid. It's circumstantial evidence at the moment, but I think just to be on the safe side, we might do a DNA test on this one.
I would say so. I think it's worth doing, isn't it?
Okay. No, definitely. Definitely. Yes.
As Jo lifted the skeleton out of the ground, it began to sink in. This seemingly bonkers project might just have pulled off the impossible.
Suddenly
That's
thought, hang on
pretty
a minute. Trauma to the head, east end of the church in the choir, curved spine. Have we actually managed to do this? I mean, the odds, if you calculate it, must have been incredible, and yet by sheer fluke we'd managed to put the first trench, and essentially the first thing we'd found in the first trench on the first day was this skeleton.
Is that femur?
Yeah, that's femur.
She's a time traveler. She's actually like 600 years old. She did it. She buried him there. Maybe she's morphed in her life a few times.
She's
and now this new version of herself is like, I feel like it's here.
I'm trying to think of the lady in The Witcher. It's like Philippa Ironheart or something like that. Yeah.
And essentially the first thing we'd found in the first trench on the first day was this skeleton.
Is that femur?
Yeah, the odds and that.
The spine was the last thing to be lifted. we needed to treat it with a lot of care, because this was obviously going to be something that was going to need to be intact and carefully looked at in the lab. Jo worked from the bottom up, and she'd got to nearly the last ones, and she'd lifted these 2 up, and there was this little fragment of metal underneath.
Not quite sure what it is. I think it could be almost anything. Take it back to the pod a little bit.
It was found between 2 of the vertebrae. A bit of the corrosion's come off at this point, and it certainly looks like some sort of metal shaft anyway. Where it was found is quite interesting, because it was a...
Where was it exactly?
About there.
Right in the middle of his back?
Yeah.
Pike? The end of a pike?
Again, yeah, I mean, it could be all sorts of things. An X-ray will probably
So-
give it clearer definition.
In the arrow?
Okay, so an X-ray will
Yeah, because
take
it'll
away
see
the
through the
corrosion.
corrosion and see what the solid iron is still
Right.
inside. So.
Wow.
It does look pointed, doesn't it? It does, yeah.
This hunchback with a head injury now had what appeared to be an arrow in its back.
Yeah.
That was a very extraordinary moment, and I felt somehow sort of out of time, almost as if I wasn't there, but I was looking in.
Yeah.
I bet a find like that, that's how you'd feel.
Whoever this individual is, he was brought here through a building which isn't there anymore, through doors that don't exist. He was buried under a floor that's gone. He's been here at least 500 years. Now he's packed in polythene bags in a cardboard box, and he's now going to be taken away.
Yeah, when
I
you
was
put it
very
like that.
conscious
Yeah,
of
jeez.
this individual, trying to imagine how, if he was looking down on us, how he might be seeing what we were doing.
I don't
Yeah,
think
how do you
anyone was
respect the dead like
anticipating
that?
actually finding him, so there was no precedent, you know. I don't think a king's been found in a car park before, not to my knowledge anyway. So nobody really knew what the etiquette was, what were the rules to follow.
I just noticed he had a
What I'd quite
Dalmatian.
like to do, but I don't know how you feel about this, is the remains that we've uncovered. I know we don't know 100% if they are Richard's.
Yeah.
But when we put the bones in the box, I'd quite like, John has a Richard III standard, and I'd quite like to just put it over the box to get it into the van, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely fine. No, I mean, particularly as a good indication that they're the right ones. That's fine. No,
Is that
absolutely
all
fine.
right?
Yeah, yeah, of
Okay.
course.
I really thought she was going to ask if she could keep a bone.
I know, right?
I was like...
This twice, are we?
No,
You
that's
know,
right.
You know, and I would just like to mark it. It just seems right to put his colours over it. And I think we'll get Joe, the osteologist, to take him off site. Joe, do you want to come and do this?
It just feels a bit of an inappropriate thing to have done.
I don't think it's right for me to do it somehow.
She's a psychopath. And Joe is like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. I mean, she's very...
For sure. of
Obviously
herself.
very, very invested. Yeah, she's confident. And she's like, I would rather do it. And if it's not him, oh well, on that person. But if it is him and we don't do it, like she thinks is, you know, just disrespectful or whatever. Where Joe's the professional in this field and she's like, I just don't think that's right.
Yeah. She's even looking bewildered.
Would you like to carry the box to the van?
I do.
Right. Come on. Where's the box?
Over there.
Right here, hold that. Well, just put it over it and then I'll give it to you.
This is so cringe.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it does.
Nah, I'm gonna wait. I'll come back to it.
Get in the van. Didn't even put him on the seat.
They're definitely talking about her.
Oh, yeah. This lady's
tuning in this
crazy.
morning on what could well be another great historic day.
Today, we know that human remains have been unearthed, but are they those of the last Plantagenet king?
There's been a major breakthrough in the search for King Richard III's final resting place.
At a press conference later this morning, we could find out if Richard III has finally been found.
Wow.
Okay, colleagues, good morning. My name's Richard Taylor. I'm from the University of Leicester, and I'd like to welcome you here to the city of Leicester to hear an update on the university's search for Richard III.
Not how I would have pronounced that name.
With what appear to be battle injuries, who suffered from severe scoliosis, that is curvature of the spine, respectfully but modestly buried in place of honour in a friary church.
Clearly, we are all very excited by these latest discoveries. This is potentially a historic moment for the university and the city of Leicester.
Researchers announced they found a skeleton they suspect might be the long-lost remains of Richard III, one of the most reviled kings in British history.
Look at those bastards.
Get in there.
Get in there. You larpers. I feel as though like this was definitely a publicity stunt for Leicester, the city. Because why would you have a press conference if you're not 1,000%
If you're not sure, yeah.
If you're not like 100%, they're like, we just found a guy with scoliosis and he's got a head wound, you know. But it could have also have been just like the gardener of the friar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like,
weird to, yeah. I feel like once you get that confirmation, go for it. Doing it prior to having that is weird.
Because the news outlets have already jumped on the story and started circulating this and building a pipe. You have now LARPers in there taking photos. You have pictures like this going everywhere.
And it's one thing to be like, we found remains. There's, you know, there's a chance maybe it's King Richard III. But yeah, to have a press conference about it is weird.
It's weird, dudes.
Because then what if you hold that press conference and then you come back and you're like, just a false alarm, you guys, it's not him. That's just like, where do you go from there?
And then what do you do with the body if it's not him? You just put it back in the car park? I mean, do you just put him back where he was?
Carl back where he was.
Yeah, and then like make it a car park again. And you guys are just like, sorry.
Dig a different trench.
Not going in the museum, you know.
Researchers announced they found a skeleton they suspect might be the long-lost remains of Richard III, one of the most reviled kings in British history.
His body was misplaced. There were rumors that it had been thrown in the river, but perhaps not. Perhaps it could be found here, underneath this parking lot in the center of Leicester.
Give us a bit of a grimace.
So far, the pieces fit with some historical accounts of Richard's death and burial and could rewrite many of our history books. 127 years after Richard's death, we must now wait at least another 3 months to answer the big question.
Those are grown men. Just...
To the world at large, the Leicester University team had found the bones of Richard III. The truth was more frightening. They still had a mass of obstacles in their path before they could actually prove this was the king.
Yeah, it's not just like you look at it and you're like, yeah.
You must be Lynn.
I am Lynn.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too.
You're the boss of this establishment. You're
Yes,
the chief.
I'm the head of archaeology and ancient history.
This is the box here.
This is the box. This is the box.
Oh, wow. It's astonishing, isn't it? It's such a mundane setting. If this was like a Steven Spielberg film, there'd be this huge kind of white ET-like container with loads of dry ice coming out the sides and then blue flashing lights, but it's just not that,
cardboard
is it?
box.
No, it's a
cardboard box.
It's a cardboard box.
There's a king
that
in there.
afternoon,
In a dark room.
Philippa and I were taken through everything that lay ahead. The skeleton was going to be carbon dated. Its DNA would be tested against a living descendant. The bones and their potential injuries would be scanned in 3D. And images of the skull sent to the best facial reconstruction expert in the country.
God, this would be a cool job.
They explained all of the tests that they were going to be doing, and you know, I mean, it just ran and ran. These lists of tests went on and on and on, pages of them. And you know, it's a really anxious moment because any one of these tests could say, well, that's it. No, it's definitely not him.
All of this made me more curious than ever about the man behind the legend.
Yeah, it's nice to be heading back here to Richard's home, his home in the north. Yeah. He's kind of coming back to life in a weird way.
In his early life, Richard lived near my home in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
Wow.
As the brother of the king, he was commander of the north and by all accounts a born soldier. He was in battle at 18 and in command by 25. With a wife and young son he seemed to dote on.
Ah. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York.
It's kind of, so this is what blows my mind, right? You have castles that are up on Earth ground level with us. Castles, ground level with us. Like you can walk in it, do whatever. Why is the friar, 13 feet down? And in box, you know what I mean? Like, why isn't that like Earth level too?
You're just not gonna get over this, are you?
I can't. My mind really can't fathom it. I get that it's like we tear it down. Who the hell would tear down like a big, rock church or stone church?
Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
Feels very strange coming back here.
This is sick.
Yeah,
I must
it
have
is.
been here
Be really cool to visit.
times, 15 times over the years, and always, I've done my withered arm routine and imagined, but now I know. Now I've seen him potentially in the ground. His bones being
weird.
brought up out the ground. I feel a bit like that's sort of sacrilege now to sort of lark about with his name, because he was a real person. He was a real king, and he lived here.
Yeah, that's his house.
I
That
was
blows my
becoming
mind
more and
too.
more
What was it?
intrigued by Philippa's version of Richard. She left me an interesting message about the way the people of York responded to his death.
The day after he died at Bosworth, they said King Richard, late mercifully reigning upon us, was pitilessly slain and murdered to the great heaviness of this city. They were writing this when there was a new king on the throne. A couple of weeks later, they called him the most famous prince of blessed memory. And that doesn't strike of someone who was a ruthless tyrant to me.
True.
The rival versions of Richard were so at odds, the good king and the bad. I wondered what historians made of it all. Why this man who'd ruled for just 2 years was still so divisive today.
Was
2
he
years.
well regarded? Was he liked by the
Yeah, he was
people?
well regarded, very much well regarded. He became admired for his chivalry, and he put himself out as a man who would bring justice and fair play.
This isn't sounding like an evil, murdering despot.
Not at all. No, that doesn't appear in any way whatsoever. All the contemporary accounts stress that in the 1470s and into the early 1480s, Richard was the loyal brother. Good old Richard.
So he was a loyal brother, a great soldier, a fair arbitrator in local disputes, well thought of by the people of the North and his fellow soldiers and everything. So what the hell happened?
This is the big question, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
this is what everyone argues about and debates.
The tower.
It was what happened in the Tower of London in 1483 that first split opinion about Richard. When his brother died, Richard made himself protector, guarding the interests of his nephew, young Edward V. But just 3 months later, he acted to make himself king.
It was all very fast. It took everybody by surprise. The princes disappeared. The two boys.
But the two boys, so this is what gets me is, you know, like, I don't want to get all, because I don't know how this all really works. But I would imagine that there would be like chancellors and advisors and people close to the king that worked with him, that were there all the time. And maybe they couldn't stomach the kids becoming king. The princes becoming king, and they murdered them.
I think anything's possible at that point.
Yeah. But to solely put it onto like Richard III, like it was his doing, but like it could have been, but was he the hand that killed the kids? I don't know.
We'll never know for sure.
Never know.
Make himself king.
It was all very fast. It took everybody by surprise. The princes disappeared. The two boys, they were already being housed in the Tower of London. They were described by local London sources as having been, one of them said they were seen shooting, practicing archery in the grounds, and then were seen no more. I have to say, I think they probably were dead.
Yeah.
I would have killed them.
Richard wouldn't. You would have killed them.
I killed them. I mean, you know, why do all that and then still have the risk that they're there in the tower, they could escape from the tower, somebody else did it on his orders. But it's not proved. It cannot be demonstrated beyond doubt.
No, we just don't know.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
They did disappear.
Yeah, who else would want him dead?
From that moment, the battle over Richard's reputation began. 500 years later, that king was just possibly lying in a cardboard box, facing a battery of tests to prove his identity. And one result was in already. The investigation of the arrowhead in the skeleton's back.
Hi, Nick.
All right.
How are you doing?
Nice to
Simon.
see you, Simon.
Hello.
Cheers.
Hello.
Philippa.
Oh, Nick. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
John. All right.
So, you're going to tell us about the arrowhead that we found in the back of our skeleton. What
Did they
have
strip it
we
down?
discovered?
Here's the actual object. It's still no easier to see exactly what it was than when it was covered in lots of wet soil. And the only way really to find out what it might be is to X-ray it. That's the initial X-ray that we did. What it looks like is a slightly tapering piece of iron here. You know, you've got a shaft there, and you've got the suggestion of some little barbs coming off the side there.
Yeah, they look like barbs.
What we did then was to start having a look at the kinds of arrowheads that we might expect to see at this kind of date.
Yeah.
You know, there are some similarities there, definitely.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really enough. There's a couple of things about the arrowhead concerning me, really. If we have a look at a replica arrowhead of the kind that was around in the late 15th century, you can see, yes, it's got barbs. They're swept back close to the body of the arrowhead. It's designed for piercing body armour. What we did was to take another series of X-rays just to see what we've got. And the second thing that I was concerned about was this very thick white line at the top here.
Looks like a screw or a nail.
Well, what we've got here, unfortunately, is a bit of iron that was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm afraid it's a humble nail.
It's a nail.
Nail.
Yes, and probably a Roman nail. Just fortuitously in the burial soil, and just happened to be right next to the spine.
Wow. We were the star we were hoping for.
Did they use nail guns in medieval battles?
That's what I was going to say. They just nail gunned him.
Am I clutching at straws?
Yes, yeah, we're definitely clutching at straws.
There's nothing to be gained by going down that avenue.
No.
Looked up nail gun on the internet
yes.
and it said started in the 70s and not.
Now, I have something sinister, though. What if they nailed something to his body? You know, like a sign or something, like King
after
Richard
he was dead?
here. Yeah, after he was dead. And
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why they would do that in a church, but it could just be fortuitous and it's just, you know, there was a Roman nail.
Yeah.
You know.
The 1470s.
That's right, yeah.
Oh dear.
Could be the floorboards.
It was a
too.
troubling start. If the arrow was just a nail, what other disappointments lay ahead? Was our royal skeleton really just a monk in serious need of a chiropractor?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
For 2 weeks in October, the box containing the potential bones of Richard III sat in a locked room waiting for an appointment at the local hospital. Somewhat bizarrely, they were going to scan this medieval skeleton in the same machine they used for living patients.
Oh, weird.
We're going to take a CT scan of the skeleton. The idea of that is that it will give us a good 3D record of it, and it will enable us to look in more detail at the nature of the trauma on it, and also potentially at the abnormality of the spine.
Cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt.
The shape of the vertebrae changes as it goes down the spine, and one of the problems with this is, of course, the vertebrae are not completely normal. They're the finger bones. I'm just trying to organise so I can work out where we are.
See, I wouldn't be able to tell what was finger, what was dirt.
Well, they're professionals at what they do.
The images from this scan will create a 3D model of every bone in the body. They'll allow Joe to investigate the skeleton's apparent hunchback, the nature of its head injuries, even the weapon that killed him.
She looks a bit like Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Not Dr. Joe.
It was just possible this science might rewrite the history of our infamous king. And all over the world, Ricardians were ready to do battle.
History plays were plays. They are not history.
Is that they can prove now that, okay, you see, he wasn't an hunchback. That was a lie.
Well, we think that in the skeleton that he does have a hunchback. But
What do you mean? How do you fit a hunchback in an armor? He was quite handy with a sword and...
The idea that he was in any way seriously physically incapacitated is utterly ridiculous.
I personally don't believe that he knocked off his nephews. I think they were, in fact, hidden away.
I think anybody who claims they know what happened to the two boys is deluding themselves. It's all pure speculation.
Do you think he murdered the princes in the tower?
No.
He stood to gain, didn't he?
No. No.
No?
A little bit of truth can be spun, political spin, and turned into something else.
The Tudors had
people are
no
real.
right to the crown. They knew that. They say the winners are writing history, right?
It's like this is fresh. This is like just happened. It's like, you know, like the result of some election that happened yesterday. They will fight it. They will fight it with passion.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Really nice to meet you.
That is weird.
What? Oh, what on earth? Some of them are like,
In
it's
every
almost like an
way,
infatuation.
This medieval skeleton was coming back to life. The images from the CT scan were now with the specialist at the University of Dundee. Using technology developed for criminal investigations, she was going to reconstruct the face of our skull in layers of muscle and skin.
First of all, just first impressions of this skull is that it got quite a long, gracile, in other words, not very strongly masculine features. So it's, you know, it's an interesting skull to look at. It's got quite a lot of teeth that have been lost from the mandible, so he's going to have quite an interesting face. But the process that we follow for the reconstruction is to use little virtual pegs and attach them to the surface of the skull so that it gives a kind of contour map within which we can work to produce the depiction. Next step is to add the anatomical structures, starting with the eyeballs, and basically slowly build the face from the skull out to the muscle structure. As we put the muscles onto this skull, the face starts to develop. So we can start to see the shape, especially around the lower face, around the jaw.
Love forswore me in my mother's womb. to shrimp mine arm up like a withered shrub, to heap an envious mountain on my back, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part.
Nowhere was myth and fact more tangled than in the question of what Richard actually looked like. His surviving portraits, painted after he died, were a masterclass in spin.
It does include two layers. The layer of truth, which is certainly the likeness. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
That is quite like what Richard looked like. But the whole type was slanted as soon as the Tudors started applying propaganda to the matter.
Oh.
It was of great importance, the Tudor dynasty, that this man was a villain. It was essential. Otherwise, there was no reason for Henry to be on the throne.
So they tampered with it?
Oh, yes. The shoulders, this one is slightly higher than that one. And they made a great play of the theory that he was disabled. And at this time, a disfigurement of this kind would have been assumed to have been due to the vengeance of God. This is the one in the Royal Collection.
He looks meaner.
It's undoubtedly been tampered with. The shoulder has been raised.
Wow.
His hands are claw-like.
Oh.
His thumb just seems to have been a spike.
It's quite disturbing, isn't it, really?
It is,
it's like
yes.
something out of a
So-
horror film.
Yes, well, again, this is propaganda.
It is quite subtle, actually, isn't it? I would have gone monobrow. Do you know what a monobrow is? So
I mean, so it's right
it looks-
across the middle.
Yeah, can you give him one? But they haven't done that. They've been a bit subtler. They've narrowed his eyes. They've given him a pointy thumb.
Exactly.
It's quite good, isn't it? Do you think? Or do you
I
think
think
it's
it
crude?
was pretty cunning. Certainly these things were done, and it's much easier to exaggerate than it is to invent. You exaggerate a little tiny fact to make a monster. And if he
good comment.
had a deformity, a slight deformity, then it wouldn't have been mentioned into his face or in his reign, but the minute he was dead, buzz, buzz, buzz.
But if the skeleton is him, he did have a hunchback.
So it's interesting that she said, you know, and she's right, obviously, that they would in rather put more emphasis on the deformities or of these, you know, than
Exaggerate.
invent. Yeah, exaggerate it, then invent a whole new thing, because you'd have people that were like, wait a minute, I knew what the guy looked like and he didn't look like this.
Yeah.
For the time period, you know? Interesting.
If this skeleton was Richard, that fabled deformity was going to be classified and defined by experts for the first time. For Philippa and me, this process was also our first sight of the skeleton since the dig.
Hello.
Hi, Simon. Hello,
Well,
Philippa.
Here we are. Blimey.
They cleaned it up.
We've got the skeleton here laid out.
Have
We've
to.
reproduced the curve as best we can. Just to show you a little bit about some of the bones we've got here. On this vertebra, you can see how we've got bone formed in the ligaments that connect this vertebra with the one above, which showed the curve would have been pretty stiff.
Would he have had the hunchback that was reported in sort of Tudor times?
Well, hunchback, yes. He would have had an abnormal curve and an asymmetry to the chest wall. Whether his right shoulder was higher or lower, if we look at the end of the clavicles, we can see how the one on the right is definitely a different size and shape to the one on the left. It's much bigger on the right than on here. So he may have found that the shoulders may have been held in a slightly different position.
Wow. It's a lot to take in, isn't it, Philippa? Are you okay?
Simon loves this.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's just
It's all quite clinical, isn't it? All sort of laid
it's
out
very
like
clinical.
this.
It's really difficult seeing him.
Her version of
Like
Richard
this.
didn't have a curved back.
Guys, I'm sorry, I can't.
They're like, she is bananas.
Yeah, it's like the elephant in the room. They're all thinking it, but
No. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't see bones on that table. I see a man. I see a living, breathing sort of.
She definitely has a parasocial relationship with this fucking dude in her head.
Yeah, it's beyond, like, it's really good to have hobbies, but this is like
crazy.
It's a little bit crazy. Yeah.
Like 500 years ago, you guys.
Yeah, it's.
And she is crying, riveting, like acting. And I don't know. So I had the skepticism about, is she doing this because the camera's on her? Is she being like extra?
I just think she is. I
Like,
mean,
are
if
you
she's that
acting?
involved in it,
Like, is this her 15
after
minutes
all
of fame?
this time, no, I think she's really into it, which is hard because, like,
That's
I
even
live
sadder.
my life on trying to put myself in everybody else's shoes, but I'm trying to do that with her, but I'm like, I think even if it was like a literal relative of mine that died 20 years ago and we found, their bones, we didn't know where their bones were, we found their bones, I don't think I would be like
This upset.
as emotional or as invested as she is. You know what I mean? It's like she's just really, 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 really into it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's something from being like, I love history and I've done all this research on history and he's my favorite king and I've dove into all this and I think some things are not true about it, to being like,
I love him.
almost unhealthy. Like, yeah, it's just
I love
almost
him.
an obsession, it seems like at this point,
Yeah.
which is
kind of weird. Right?
Human being, and
You feel like you've got to know him, over the years. I mean, it's years that you've put into this, and it's kind of like hearing that diagnosis is.
it's just laid out for the world to see.
so I can understand her getting emotional when she's like put years and years into this work. To be like, okay, this is like, wow, we maybe found him. I'm seeing his bones like clean, laying on a table. Maybe that's him. I can understand that getting emotional. But the point of getting to that point where she's spending years and years and years and him putting together these groups of people all over the world that are like super into this is just, I'm like, that's the point. I'm like, how do you get to that point?
And they haven't fully straight up said or determined that it was him.
Yeah.
So she's like not even in a denier state yet. Because I would assume she would be like, that's not him. Psh, we're done.
Yeah.
I want solid evidence now.
I think she's very like just disappointed that if it is him, he's got a curve back.
Well, she definitely from the jump has been convinced that the skeleton was him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it's kind of like hearing that diagnosis is.
It's just laid out for the world to see again. It's a.
But then do you feel what we're doing this time is trying to, there's a lot of interest in this, but we're trying to, I guess, get the truth out.
But we have to get to the truth,
Yeah,
and you're
we have
right,
to.
we have to do it. And
Yeah. Should we, are you ready to go back in? Yeah. All right, let's go.
Good on you, Simon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You okay, Philippa?
Yeah. But I'm really sorry.
Joe's
I know, Joe can't even.
He's got a hunchback again. It was kind of. It just knocked me for six.
Well, it depends entirely what you mean by a hunchback. A hunchback isn't a medical term. It's just a popular term to mean someone's got a spinal deformity.
Is it not visible then in his clothing, or is it not visible in his body, or is it visible in his body but not in his clothing?
Scoliosis is always much more apparent when someone is wearing no clothes. So a lot of people will walk down the high street today and you will not know they have a scoliosis. Perhaps 1% of people in Britain have a scoliosis of some kind, but it doesn't mean to say that it's severe enough to impact on how they live their lives, and so most of the time you would not notice they ever had one unless they were on the beach.
This deformity was not the classic.
This is where it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm not judging her. I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit about her, talking crap. But it's like comments like that she makes that makes me feel like it's like an unhealthy thing, you know, because it's almost like why does that matter if you can tell, you know what I mean? Whether he had a curved spine or not, why does it matter? But like more specifically, can you tell when he didn't have clothes on or only when he was like in the nude?
I think she's been championing this sentiment that he is not a hunchback for years now with her Richard and whatever they call themselves, the Richard III cult. With alongside with them trying to debunk this. And it's like kind of, they don't want their thoughts and beliefs in this to ruin everything they've been saying for the past 10 years.
I know, but it's like it doesn't make him any less of a king or the man that you thought he was.
I get it.
That is saying he has a curved spine doesn't say, oh, he actually did murder his nephews and he was a terrible man. It just means he had a curved spine. So what if you were wrong about it? But it's weird that it matters so much. Almost like, again, going back to that, like it almost feels like she's in love with him. And she's like, no, the man I love doesn't have a curved spine. You know, I don't want to walk. If I'm walking down the street with him, are people going to be able to tell that he's got a hunch?
I don't know.
Or only like if we're in the bedroom. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Again, like I'm not judging and I don't want to sound like I'm talking crap about her because like I'm not trying to, but it's just weird for it. Yeah. Why does it matter?
I think one is because is it a Tudor slander or is it the real thing? And maybe, I don't know.
But I mean, like they have the evidence that he's got a curved spine. Again, if this is him. So just leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Impact on how they live their lives. And so most of the time you would not notice they ever had one unless they were on the beach.
This deformity was not the classic hunchback of Notre Dame. The curve was sideways. If this was Richard, outwardly, he would almost certainly have looked and walked like anyone else. The one shoulder was probably a bit higher than the other.
Yeah. And that's why they accentuated
the Shakespearean myth. Would he have had a withered arm or any sort of oddness in his arms?
If you compare humerus on one side with a humerus on the other, they're exactly the same length. Same for the forearm. They're symmetric on both sides, so there's no reason to think that one side was withered compared with the other. One thing Joe and I did notice was that the radius bones here are relatively gracile or feminine.
Is there anything we can categorically say at this point would rule him out? Or
Is that a woman? If this was a female skeleton, then that would do it very definitively, and the gracile nature of the skeleton is something that might set a few alarm bells ringing. There are also some features on the pelvis. This feature here, the sciatic notches here are wider than we would normally expect to see in a male skeleton. This is a feature that varies, and in fact we have data that's been done on burials of known people from Britain in the 19th century that show that you can have a feminine sciatic notch and be male. Other areas of the pelvis suggest that this probably is a male skeleton. Some of the aspects of the skull suggest it probably is a male skeleton.
Tudors missed a trick, though, didn't they? You know, could have said he had a hunchback and lady's arms. That would have made Shakespeare's play very different.
There is actually one of the historical sources, and I'm afraid I forget which one, that refers to him as fighting surprisingly well in battle, considering that he was lacking in masculinity.
Really?
So there is actually some historical backup for that view.
Wow. Gender shocker in lab.
Well, so you have to think back at the time, like, were they, I mean, were there brick, you know, I don't know, nutrition, you know, what they were eating back then, like how big were just the society as a whole at that point?
Yeah, I mean, based off, like you said, their nutrition, maybe they didn't get as large. I would think that somebody, I don't know, maybe not. I would think that somebody like a king that would potentially lead battles would try to be a bit more bulky, but I mean they maybe trained. Not necessarily, yeah.
But he also had scoliosis, so like, and he wasn't, for all of his life, he wasn't supposed to be king.
Yeah.
So you're probably not leading your life the way you would if you knew for damn sure that you were going to be the successor.
Right.
So.
I wasn't expecting that even to be a doubt. Wow.
I'm getting so invested in this. It's so stupid.
I know, it's crazy.
Royalty is a queer old thing. Between the current queen and our potential king, there are 23 different monarchs.
She looks great.
But not one of them directly related to Richard.
Wow.
Since the day our skeleton was discovered, the hunt has been on for a living descendant. Someone from the male or female line whose DNA might be a match.
This is it, Belgravia Workshops. So we're in the right area.
So far, the closest descendant on the female side, and potentially the newest member of the royal family, looks to be a cabinet maker called Michael.
It's weird, funny history, isn't it? I mean, given different set of circumstances, I'd be looking for Michael in some palace somewhere or a castle. But such is the strange course. We're here in North London. I mean, it's nice, but you know what I'm saying.
If DNA from our bones matched Michael's, our skeleton would be a king.
Hi. I'm looking for nephew of Richard III. Have I found him?
I think you found one.
I found one.
An intriguing archaeological mystery in England took on a Canadian twist today. To find out if the skeleton is genuine, they're testing the DNA against a descendant,
17th generation descendant of the king's sister. His DNA will be compared with that of the skeleton.
So, Michael, what is your exact relation to the dead king?
Well, I'm a nephew in the 17th generation.
17th. It's actually not that far away.
Part of my physical being is directly related to the family of Richard III. And that's, it makes you stop and think. And I find it somewhat overwhelming at times.
You know, they used to call Richard the last of the Plantagenets. Well, it's not true, is it? Because you're the last of the Plantagenets.
Yeah.
Yeah, a faint resemblance. I mean,
There's
if you
nothing.
imagine Michael with the wig and... yeah, something there, I think.
There's something there, I think. They both have eyes.
Well, one has 4. I can say that. I'm a glasses wearer.
I'm just adding some skin. We do this as we would with real clay, really. It's just add kind of balls of clay over the muscle structure and start with
So
quite
she
a
can
rough
shape
shape,
this however
and
she
then
wants, though.
it becomes
No.
more and more detailed as we move along into the process.
Yeah, if I want to make it fatter or skinnier, you know?
Really, from the muscle structure onwards, we're
No.
starting to see what the face is developing into. Some of the skin there over the top of the forehead, so you're starting to see the shape of the top of his head.
Where should Richard III's final resting place be? Live on PM Night, 2 MPs will tell us why.
The appropriate final resting place for him would be Leicester Cathedral.
Worksop is the halfway point between York and Leicester.
But who on earth wants to go to Worksop?
And I think we need to have a proper historical...
The sense of expectation in the country was rising. But by mid-December, we still couldn't prove the skeleton was Richard's. And one test had us all nervous. The carbon dating that would tell us what century our bones came from.
That's cut and dried. If we've got a 14th century, a 13th century burial, you know, it's game over, and it's definitely not Richard.
Yeah.
The date we needed to be in sight of was the year of Richard's death, 1485.
We had sort of hopes that we'd get within 80 years was the thing, so we could eliminate any of this sort of earlier medieval burials. So let's have a look and see what we've got.
Oh God.
Because this should at least
No, but this
tell
is
us
the big
whether we're in the
one,
right
isn't it?
ballpark.
Well, yes, this is the one, because if this is out, this is what we've been
this is end of,
thinking,
really.
and then we're...
And the initial dates have come in, and they're suggesting sort of 1430 to 60, which is a bit on the early side. But because the individual had a high-protein diet, and particularly was eating a lot of marine fish, by eating marine fish, the marine fish are absorbing lots of earlier carbon-14, and it's distorting the date. So then it's remodelled. It then gives us a 95.4% probability that it's AD 1450 to 1540.
Say that again, it was 14?
Well, 95.4% probability is 1450 to 1540.
Crikey.
So that's exactly
Crikey.
what we're after, isn't it?
It is. It is. Absolutely.
That's great.
Oh, I'm so happy for her,
I'm
actually.
in the 95% plus category now in terms of
Well,
confidence.
Philippa only needed an R on the in the car park, so...
Divining rods.
Right. An average person in medieval Leicester wouldn't be having a very high protein diet, not much fish and not much meat. And you know, most people would be eating pottage and sort of vegetables and things like that. Within the friary, they probably have quite a bit of fish, although it's quite a poor order, so maybe not that much.
It is really interesting that you can tell just off some old dusty bones what their diet was.
Well, I mean, the proteins and the things that, you know.
I know, but after that length of time and being buried under a car park to still be able to do that it's amazing. It's incredible.
And what's crazy about it is he's saying, like, hey, probability, you know, we've got like it's 95%, and this dude ate a lot of fish, which seemed like a delicacy.
Yeah.
You know, like a king would eat this, a peasant
common person was not eating this. Yeah.
You know, most people would be eating pottage and sort of vegetables and things like that. Within the friary, they probably have quite a bit of fish, although it's quite a poor order, so maybe not that much. So it's a high status individual, which is also another bit of evidence.
Yeah, that's another piece of evidence.
That's a king right there, baby.
Helps. Wow.
Another piece.
5 months on from breaking the tarmac, evidence was mounting that our skeleton was indeed Richard III. A medieval grave in a sacred place, a curved spine, and bones dated to the 15th century. The cabinet maker's DNA was now being processed alongside the skeletons, and the 3D face was being transformed into a physical head.
This is really nice, isn't it? The detail that you can see on here is fantastic.
In Leicester, one last investigation was underway. A trauma specialist and an armoury expert were trying to match injuries on the skull to medieval weapons.
Scanned across it in two different directions. One direction, it looks a bit like a scoop.
Yes, that's definitely, a blade coming across.
In the accounts of Richard's death, they describe him being brought down in a melee of men, with one surging forward with a poleaxe to kill him. No one knew if they were accurate or part of the myth spun after his death.
Yeah.
On this image, it looks very scooped, and then this image here, it's much flatter.
Perhaps something like an axe blade or a quite sturdy sword.
As they identified each injury on our skeleton, medieval accounts and 21st century science began to tell the same story.
Is it a pommel
Everything
strike?
suggested that for the first time, they might be able to tell the story of Richard's death.
Wow.
That's riveting.
The team at Leicester had pieced together what looked to be the last moments of Richard's life. And joined by a forensic pathologist, they were starting to identify the fatal blows.
We found a series of injuries on the skeleton tell us about the moments leading up to his death and immediately afterwards. There are some injuries that are very obvious, but there are also some injuries on here that are much less obvious. If I just move it in the light, you can see that there's a bit of a slice here, and we think that what's happened there is perhaps somebody has taken a slicing action at him with a sharp-bladed weapon, and it's just nicked the top of the head.
The blade is sort of a scooping depression, and there's still striations on there, so the blade came came in and out. He will have charged into that battle in full armour. By this time, the helmet is away. You don't get a wound like that or other wounds that we're seeing wearing a helmet.
His helmet would have come off before he got to the standard.
He'll have probably got to that point, and then in the ensuing melee, which will have been possibly a number of people very, very tightly packed together in a very, very small area, and a helmet could have been knocked off.
So then we also have this much more noticeable but still quite small wound. It's a penetrating injury of some kind. You can see there's just a very small entrance wound on the top of the skull.
It strikes me that this is actually the result of probably a dagger. There is a certain type of dagger at this period called the rondel dagger. There are illustrations which show you holding it in one hand and then basically about pushing it down with the other hand. So you've got this extra strength as well.
So this is a man who's not on a horse as well. He's already off his horse.
At this stage, he's off his horse as well. Is recorded by even those who don't look upon him favourably as he fought manfully to the end type of thing and scenario. And this is what I think some of these wounds are showing. He was there in the middle of it right to the end.
And then, of course, we come to the most obvious of the wounds on the skull, which is this very major slice that's been taken off. And we actually have part of the slice of bone that's been cut away here, and that shows us that it must have still been in some way attached, perhaps as a flap afterwards.
It's a very, very dramatic injury. Again, you're talking about a lot of force behind something to actually cut through the skull like this. But certainly, if you look at where this injury is, the brain would be visible through that.
So the back of the head.
That's the blow. What did it, probably?
That's the fatal blow.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
You don't walk away from something like that.
No.
Not even today with modern neurosurgery.
No.
That kills you.
Brutal.
But what did it?
Yeah, right.
Or what caused it?
Considering the amount of damage that he has received, what might be very apparent when we're looking into this face is that actually it is complete. That is sort of quite obvious if you think about it for a moment. People actually wanted to see it was Richard. They wanted to see his face. There is the king or the pretender, the usurper. There he is dead. Come and see for yourself if you don't believe me.
So then there's one final wound on the skeleton, and again we're very sure that this is something that happened after the death of Richard, and that's on the pelvis. There's actually a line across here, and if we look at this, there's an equivalent line on the part of the bone that's broken away. We can see that something's come in from the back. It's penetrated slightly to the front there. So what we think is that somebody has actually stabbed him with some kind of a bladed weapon.
From behind?
This seems to fit in with the idea, if we imagine and accept the accounts, that he is bound over a horse, trussed, and legs are dangling one side, the arms the other side. It means his buttocks are about head height as he's being led from Bosworth to Leicester, and that is such an opportunistic target for somebody with a dagger. Just
stab
to go
him in the ass.
Like that.
Into the buttocks?
Sure.
Into the backside.
She's gonna cry
Why
again?
would you bother stabbing someone
in the ass?
And a bomb as they're passing by? That wouldn't happen to an ordinary...
It heads in a certain direction.
No, I think it's all... We're always very careful in forensic pathology not to overstate it, but it's all highly suggestive. And you take everything in context, the injuries that he's got, as you said, the stature, and you've got to start getting close to a serious conclusion.
I must admit I was quite sceptical at the beginning, but the more I've looked at this with Joe and everybody else, I think it is.
The combination of the curvature of the spine and the pattern of injuries, it's not just the single injury that caused death, but the pattern of the injuries suggests very strongly that this is him.
Wow. Oh, chills.
Yeah, damn.
Now that they officially said it.
I mean, if we went through an hour and 15 minutes,
Well,
and it wasn't.
It's pretty brutal in there. I mean, to have a chunk taken out of your skull and then something resembling a hammer blow and then a, spike through the head and then the back of his head taken off and his brain spilling out. And then let's face it, after what we're all kind of, inferring from what they're saying is a poor guy, he got stabbed, in his arse, basically. And, but at least that was, those were brutal times. That was, medieval battle was pretty sort of ruthless. And also what it confirmed for me is that is Richard III. There is no way, in my mind, this is Richard III. If that is not Richard III, that is one unlucky monk.
Yeah, right. It could have been the king. When they put him up on the horse, he's just like... It was a victory.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
So this is where it all happens, John.
Yes, yes.
This is where the battle was?
I was thinking about this last night when I was sort of going to bed. One of the things that came into my head is how brave he was, I suppose, as a leader, because I was thinking he was the last English king to die in battle. You couldn't imagine a king now, and he took it upon him himself.
He was the last English king to die in battle?
I'm going to fight.
Richard thought that he was going to win. He was pleased when he heard Henry Tudor was coming because he thought that he was going to settle this issue. And all his preparations for the battle showed confidence. That's a sort of comforting thought to me, that it must have come as a shock to him, but hopefully that it came as a last-minute shock. And then,
And you know what? He was a warrior king, and he died as a warrior king. And maybe that's what he wanted. He thought, if I'm going to die, then I'll die that way.
yes, I think at the end that is what he wanted.
Yeah.
Everything suggested the skeleton in the car park was Richard, but one final piece of proof was needed. If its ancient DNA didn't match a living descendant, then the truth of his identity would always be questioned.
I genuinely don't know what the DNA result is. It seemed only right that Turi should tell Michael first, because obviously it has much more an impact on him than anybody else.
It's quite big news to absorb, isn't it?
Wow.
Michael, here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
So, if you look at the DNA of Michael and you look at the DNA from the skeletal remains, there's a match.
Oh my gosh.
The DNA evidence points to this being Richard III.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have a match.
Oh, I have chicken bumps everywhere.
So we can categorically say we found a king in a car park. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
We can, indeed. Yeah.
Any viewers thinking of going to their local car park and digging it up, this is a very unusual situation. Okay? You're not to be tried in your local social services. These people are experts.
On a grey London day,
I know.
3.5 years after starting her quest, Philippa has reached the end of her journey.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad of the outcome.
I feel quite nervous, do you?
I'm shaking. I am.
What's she gonna do now, though?
The same science that can put a face to an unidentified victim of crime will allow us to stare into the face of Richard III, a king of England who died 500 years ago when he was just 32.
Something's happening.
Wow, he was young.
Come on in.
Right, let's go.
Now, does the queen get the bust? And that's got to be in like the royal palace, right?
Okay.
Yep.
She's closing her eyes.
Ready?
Right, okay.
And open your eyes when you're ready. Yeah.
Well, let me see.
Wow.
That's
Remarkable.
crazy.
can kind of see the man, really, can't you? Doesn't look like the face of a tyrant, I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And there's no Tudor mythology all over him.
No, he's a bonny lad.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's very handsome. It's like you could just talk to him, have a conversation with him right now.
No, you can't. Oh my God.
It's been a complete roller coaster ride.
I mean, it's kind of
it's very similar.
To sit here, 4 years on, after everything that's happened, after everything they've been through, and to see the real Richard III.
Does she get to keep the head?
God, I hope not.
I'm just full of joy.
What I found most fascinating about this journey is we've had two sources of information. There's the science side and the historical side. And the science information sort of gets narrower, it gets more concrete, you know, so we know what he looked like and how he carried himself and even what he ate, how he died in battle. But the more you look into the historical side of things, the narrative of Richard's life, if you like, the murkier and murkier it gets. But I think that's what I've learned to love about history. It's all open to interpretation. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. It's like two football commentators arguing over the same penalty decision. They're both seeing the same things, but they both come to different conclusions. And I guess the conclusion I've come to is that I am a Ricardian. Wow, I never thought I'd hear myself say that. My name is Simon Farnaby, and I am a Ricardian.
Interesting.
Like so much so that you're joining the group?
My name's Richard Taylor. I'm from the University of Leicester, and I'd like to welcome you here to the city of Leicester to hear an update.
That
I
was
doubt there's
wild.
anything else.
My big fat gypsy Valentine.
Ooh. All right, babe. What did you think of all this discovery?
It really was riveting.
It was.
I think the odds are astronomical, and the fact that they found him and pretty much immediately is insane.
It is insane.
I think you could spend like multiple generations of lifetimes
trying
to like uncover something like that and never ever do it. And it is just wild. But I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
And I am glad, as much as I think maybe Philippa's,
I like that they documented it.
as much of it I think is a little bit
fandom
much.
Yeah.
I'm glad of the outcome, like especially for her.
Yeah, she needed the closure, I think.
Yeah.
I think it would have been devastating if she didn't get the closure and it turned out it wasn't the right person. Because then her hunt would still continue.
Yeah.
And I like that she got the closure. She was fanatical, but you know, I don't know how much. We'll never understand how much time and effort, and I mean, fandom's a word, but I think it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And it is emotional.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we don't live in a country where we had all that history and we had kings and queens, so it's hard for us to
fathom, I would say.
Yeah. It's hard to hard to put myself in that situation where I would be like, I just don't understand. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But we don't have all that kind of history and stuff. And so
yeah.
I don't know.
And it's really, when you think about it, so a typical human being lives for about 80 years.
Yeah.
Right? 80 to 90, you know, less if you're in America. But like 80 years. So 500 years is basically, you know, give or take 5 or 6 people's lives.
Yeah.
Like when you look at it from that kind of point of view, it's really not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were talking about we've only had like 23 monarchs in that time, like, I mean, that's crazy. So I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. I just remember hearing that play. I think that this video was very interesting. I'm sure for the culture and for the people that lived, you know, in England and in the UK, this was probably a huge freaking story. This was probably blowing up everywhere. So for you guys, it's probably a part of your culture.
Yeah.
So for us to read or listen and watch a documentary, which really did a great account, because I feel like if you didn't show the evidence, it would have been like, it wouldn't be concrete enough for us to say like, yes. But seeing the sources, seeing how they came to conclusion, that was really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. It was a good story, you guys. And I know it's more than a story for most of you, but for us, it was great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was really cool to just experience the entire thing through it, like, you know, almost like we're there. It's hard not to get invested into it. I think it is good. Like, you know, I at least can say that I learned some things, and especially coming from a place where I don't know anything about kings and queens. It was informative, and it was educational, and it was cool. A roller coaster and emotional, and it was all sorts of really cool things wrapped into one. And
now the only thing I wish that they did was come to the conclusion. What happens next? Where's the body?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's like
I would agree
written
with that.
in stone about this?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been a 2-hour long video at this point.
Oh my God.
This is the longest. I'm making sure that our computer doesn't blow up. But give this video a like if you like it. These are very long videos, so give it a like, comment, let us know what you think.
Also, let us know who your favorite king or queen is. And if there is one that you love enough that you would do something similar if the situation had presented itself.
Yeah. But all right, you guys, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.